Dear students of class 11th, dear student, I am Rajendra Rai, working at LPM Public School, Gola Bazar, Gorakhpur, and I am summarizing complete respiration in plants, all the reactions, whether they are glycolysis, fermentation, oxidation, phosphorylation, respiratory content, or amphibolic pathway. Everything that will be summarized in this video so that this chapter is considered as the complete chapter. Dear student, this first slide is on your screen, and this slide is showing the reaction of glycolysis which takes place into the cytoplasm. So in the plant cell, in the cytoplasm, this is a common reaction which is taking place into the cytoplasm, and the transformation of the breakdown of glucose molecule that is taking place, what you are looking here, and conversion of one glucose molecule into 2-pyruvic acid molecule. So conversion of one glucose molecule into 2-pyruvic acid molecule by the process of a series of the chemical reactions, and this series of the chemical reactions is called glycolysis. First of all, on the glucose molecule, ATP will convert it into glucose 6-phosphate. How does it get converted? It gets converted by the breakdown of ATP, which results the formation of ADP and phosphate molecule. That phosphate molecule is going to add in the glucose molecule as the functional group, and formation of glucose 6-phosphate takes place. Later on, this glucose 6-phosphate, it gets converted into fructose 6-phosphate because this fructose is the favorable molecule for the plants. And further, again, next unit of ATP will act on this fructose 6 molecule, fructose 6-phosphate, and one phosphate molecule will be added into it. And from where it is coming? It is coming from the breakdown of ATP. So ADP is free, and phosphate molecule will be added into fructose phosphate, which results the formation of fructose 1,6-biphosphate. तो आपने ये देखा कि एक मॉलिक्यूल फॉस्फेट का जुड़ा तो ग्लूकोज फ्रक्टोज फॉस्फेट बना, दूसरा मॉलिक्यूल फॉस्फेट का जुड़ा तो बाईफॉस्फेट बना, and later on there will be another side of reaction which is taking place in between it and that reaction that is coming from the amphibolic pathway, from where triose phosphate in the form of dry dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which is 3 carbon, and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which is 3 carbon. So this 6 carbon fructose biphosphate breakdown takes place, which results formation of this 3C. One is glyceraldehyde and there is dihydroxyacetone, and these forms are transformable. They can be transformed into this dihydroxy, and this dihydroxy can be transformed into the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And the next enzymatic action takes place on these molecules, and that enzyme is NAD+. What it does, it facilitates the addition of the hydrogen ion with this NAD positive ion. Means NAD positive ion will absorb the electron from this molecule triose phosphate, and it liberate the hydrogen ion, which will be for the participation in further next reactions, and this NAD plus get converted into the nicotinamide adenine dihydrogenase, which results formation of two molecule of triose biphosphate that is having 3 carbon. And now the cyclic action of further ADP, then here it is notable that this biphosphoglyseric acid is releasing one phosphate molecule and ATP will be formed. In the next series, this phosphoglyceric acid 3 carbon will be formed, and later on it will be converted into 2-phosphoglycerate. When it get hydrolyzed in the presence of water, then it will be phosphophenol pyruvate, and on the action of the ADP, which is getting one phosphate molecule from this phosphophenol pyruvate, the formation of next molecule of ATP takes place, and 2 molecule of pyruvic acid will be formed. This is the glycolysis. Dear student, I am going on next step of the respiration, and that is, if oxygen is not available with this pyruvic acid, then what happens? See, in human muscular cells, the action of NADH plus hydrogen ion change it into the lactic acid. Lactate fermentation takes place in human muscular cell, while in yeast, where oxygen is not available, then this pyruvic acid get converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide as a result of the action of the nicotinamide adenine dihydrogenase and hydrogen ion, which will be added into this pyruvic acid, and formation of ethanol and carbon dioxide takes place. This is fermentation. This is fermentation. This is fermentation. Okay. So I hope that this glycolysis and fermentation is clear to all of you. And further, come to the next slide. Now this process is very important as far as the oxidation, third step, that is the oxidation. When the oxygen will be available in the aerobic respiration, then this pyruvate molecules go into the mitochondria, where oxidation of this pyruvate molecule takes place. This pyruvate molecule is having 3 carbon, not 6 carbon, because of the breakdown of 6 carbon glucose that will be that is into the pyruvate molecule. So on the pyruvate molecule, again action of NAD plus, which results the electron absorption, and NADH plus H ion will be produced, and release of one molecule of carbon dioxide from it. So oxygen will be added, and release of one molecule of carbon dioxide will be there in the first step, this one. Simultaneously, on this pyruvate molecule, coenzyme will be added, and a substrate will be formed, which will be called substrate plus enzyme, which will be called acetyl coenzyme A. Means ACOA. In short form, you can say ACOA. Acetyl coenzyme A will be formed as a result of action of COA and NAD plus, release of carbon dioxide. So this 2 carbon molecule ACOA will be further get converted into citric acid and oxaloacetic acid. That is why this is called citric acid cycle, or Krebs cycle, or tricarboxylic cycle. Tricarboxylic क्यों? Because of the formation of this oxaloacetic acid OAA. So citric acid is having 6 carbon, oxaloacetic acid is having 4 carbon. And the action of this enzyme, which is called nicotinamide adenine dihydrogenase, it absorbs the hydrogen from this OA, which results formation of malic acid 4C, and from citric acid, when it provide the hydrogen to the citric acid, then the release of the carbon dioxide will be there. No, oxygen is adding into citric acid, which results the formation of CO2 as a byproduct, and in the process of oxidation, as you know, the hydrogen will be removed and oxygen will be added. This is the oxidation. So carbon dioxide, by adding oxygen, it will be released from citric acid, and formation of alpha ketoglutaric acid will be there, that is having 5 carbon. Later on it release again CO2, and as the action of the NAD+, the formation of very important emergency energy bond will be there, that is GTP. As a result of this is glucodiphosphate. This is the emergency energy bond which will be added with phosphate molecule, and GTP will be formed. And from malic acid, succinic acid will be formed in this cycle. So my dear students, this GTP is very important. Now I am concentrating on this GTP. What is this GTP and how does it act? So you have to understand the formation of this GTP. This GTP is emergency bond of the energy. It will be not utilized by the plant body or animal body. It will be utilized to combine phosphate molecule with ADP, adenosine diphosphate, which are running in the free form. So when ADP, that is the small currency of the energy, it is running into the body, and when GTP will provide the phosphate molecule to this ATP, then ATP will be formed. So many ATP will be formed, almost 30 ATP will be formed in this oxidation, and 8 ATP will be formed in the glycolysis. So total number of ATP bonds that will be produced from one molecule of glucose is 38 ATP in this aerobic respiration cycle. This is the Krebs cycle, my dear student. So you have to understand in a very easy way. Don't bother about these complicated reactions. Just understand that deletion or addition of the phosphate molecule, number 1, action of the coenzyme A, and action of the NAD positive, which absorb the oxygen, which absorb the electron. तो इसमें बच्चों CoA एंजाइम का वर्क है और NAD का वर्क है, एंड द ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द मॉलिक्यूल टेक्स प्लेस इन 2 वेज. तो बहुत ही ईजी वे में आप इसको समझ जाएंगे, ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड न बनाते हुए. आई होप सो. डियर स्टूडेंट, नाउ कम टू द next, that is the amphibolic pathway. In all living organism, as you know, that food are having 3 components: fat, carbohydrate and proteins. So whenever the breakdown of carbohydrate is taking place, simultaneously the breakdown of fat is also taking place, and formation of fatty acid and glycerol will be there. Then this fatty acid and glycerol will produce dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and this protein produce amino acid. The simpler form of the protein is amino acid, and this amino acid enter into the Krebs cycle along with the pyruvic acid. So, and this dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which is convertible with the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, as I have indicated during the glycolysis, these molecules again added to the pyruvic acid. So on the one side, pyruvic acid is 1, amino acid is 2, and these molecules, simpler molecule from the glycerol, from the fat, is added to this cycle, and this Krebs cycle will be more complicated, which results the formation of ATP bonds by the action of acetyl CoA. So these uh, these different types of the molecular entry into the Krebs cycle can be considered as the एम्फीबोलिक पाथवे. एम्फी मीन्स जब कभी भी एक ही साइकिल में जब कभी एक साइकिल जो है, एक साइकिल 2-3 तरीके से हो करके जब पूरी होने की कोशिश होती है तो उसको एम्फीबोलिक पाथवे, मतलब एक तरह से आप कह सकते हैं कि दो तरफा रास्ता है इस साइकिल को कंप्लीट करने के लिए. एंड ऑल द सिंपलर फॉर्म ऑफ द फूड गेट all the simpler form of the food is getting to be converted into their more and more simpler form, and the ultimate result is to provide the energy to the body of the living organism. My dear student, in the last moment of this video, I am taking your attention on the respiratory content. Respiratory content means this is the parameter to measure the respiration rate. So respiratory content is equal to the volume of the carbon dioxide get evolved, that is divided by the volume of the oxygen get consumed. So RQ that is equivalent to volume of CO2 divided by volume of O2. So take the example of this oxidation, C6H12O6 plus 6O2, that is going to be converted into 6 CO2 and 6H2 and energy. So RQ will be 6 CO2 upon 6 O2, 6 CO2 upon 6 O2, that will be 1. So general one molecule of glucose when get oxidized, then RQ will be 1. Take the example of another complex compound like fatty acid. So fatty acid is having so many carbons, carbon 51, C51, H96 and O6. So two molecule of this compound when added with the 145 molecule of oxygen, then production of 102 molecule of carbon dioxide and 98 molecule of water. Then what will be the RQ? The RQ of this will be 0.7. How? 102 CO2 upon 145 O2. That will be equivalent to 0.7. So RQ of this molecule will be 0.7. RQ of glucose will be 1. So my dear student, I hope that by presenting this video, you all are able to understand the complete chapter, complete concept of the chapter of respiration in plants. My dear student, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, please like. If you dislike it, please dislike. And if you like it, please subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a good day.